Hey everybody, my name is Shane and welcome back to my channel. A little while ago I had posted my part 1 vanity tour where we went through all of those acrylic drawers. I saw you all of my lipsticks. Today we are doing the palettes. I mentioned in part 1 I didn't want to include it in all one big video because I have a lot of palettes that I really do love and I wanted to kind of take my time going through each one, showing you the colors, all that fun stuff. So that is what today's video is all about. I hope you guys are excited to see a little more into my makeup collection, see what palettes that I've been loving. So I hope you decide to stick around and keep watching, and let's get right into it. Alright guys, so here is my pile of palettes. You can probably see why I wanted to do a second part to this, so I'm not going to ramble too much. Let's just get right in. So my first two palettes both come from the drugstore. They're the City Mini palettes. I know I did a video at least on one of these. I can't remember. I think it was this bronze palette that I did a video on, but I think they're really great drugstore eyeshadow palettes. They're quite pigmented and you can see that they have a pretty nice variety in each palette. The blue one is the Concrete Runway palette and the bronze one is the Rooftop Bronze palette. So like I said, what the heck? I don't know what that is. That's a stain. Like I said, I think they're just really great, affordable drugstore palettes if you kind of want to play with color or if you want to stick to the neutrals. I know they have quite a variety of these City Mini palettes, so if you don't like these two, I know they have other options. Next is my Take Me to Brazil palette. I've had this palette forever. I remember I filmed a video like years ago reviewing this palette. To be honest, I haven't used it that much because although it has a great variety of colors, you can see that it's been dropped, and I think I stuck a nail in that one by accident. It just has a really nice variety of colors, but they're not the most pigmented things I've ever seen in my life. So if I'm just specifically looking for like a nice yellow or a bright orange or a red, then I'll reach for this palette, but I really don't stick to it very often. Again, I just like it in my collection to kind of fill in the gaps. If I'm doing a makeup look and I need a specific color, this palette has certainly come in handy. And again, because it's from BH, it was really affordable. Next is my Too Faced Natural Eyes palette, which again had its own video dedicated to it. Oh my god. Disclaimer, none of my makeup is clean. I don't enjoy the look of like broken eyeshadows. This palette was seriously loved for a really long time, but I kind of look like the look of like when shadows have been used because I feel like, you know, I'm actually using them and I'm not wasting my money. So if that bothers you, you probably should stop watching the video now, because I know in one of my other makeup tutorials, like people were freaking out about them being dirty, but I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. But this palette, it was amazing. If you want to venture into a high-end palette, but you really love your nude shadows, I would seriously recommend this. Again, Too Faced Natural Eyes palette. I loved these two, of course. Honey Pot, I really love, so I really recommend that one to anyone for their makeup collection. Ooh, this thing, just the cover of it got destroyed, but this was the Too Faced and Vegas Nay Stardust collection, or collaboration I should say, and this palette was actually, it's quite beautiful, but it's one of my least used palettes. You're probably like, least used palette, Shane? Really? But yeah, I'm not lying. I actually do love Chandelier, Selfie, and Pink Pearl. I think those are my 3 favorite shadows of this palette, but they do have a really nice like burgundy here, a really nice purple, which I actually have never used. Who is texting me? Some nice browns, some neutrals up here. I do love Millennial as well for like a crease shade, so it has been used without a doubt. It just, again, is one of those palettes that's kind of tucked away. And then I reach for from time to time. Next two palettes are my Subculture and Modern Renaissance. I kept going back and forth between getting the Prism one just because of the backlash that the Subculture one got, but after swatching Prism in store myself, I don't really think it's a palette that I would reach for too often, but I do love my Modern Renaissance palette. You guys know, if you've watched me for really any length of time and I've talked about makeup at all, I freaking love this palette. It is amazing. Fallout, you guys know with Anastasia's palettes, you are going to get some fallout. They're not the best pressed shadows, but they are extremely pigmented, and I love the color variety in this one. And I also love the Subculture one, even though, again, it got so much backlash for the fallout. The color variety is amazing, and I've been loving it for the fall. I definitely think two of my favorite colors is New Wave and Edge. I used Axis for the first time in like an actual makeup look. Electric is really beautiful, but All-Star I'm not a fan of. Mercury I haven't tried at all. Rowdy I haven't really played with. Roxy doesn't even look like it's touched. Fudge is just a nice fudge brown, but I really do, again, love the variety of colors. And again, I can look past the fallout. Not everyone can, but I do think it was well worth the money that I paid for it. Next, I am just going to line up the next couple of palettes because they do all have to do with the Naked series. So please correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the only one that I'm missing is the Naked 3, which is the like rose gold one, the one that came right before the smoky. But I do have the original Naked. Like, this is the original. Like, I bought this in high school palette. This thing, hi camera, this palette is probably one of my most used and very much loved palette, and that's why I don't want to get rid of it, because although a lot of the colors, like I think Smog was my favorite. That was the first one to go. Loved Naked, loved Sin. I love Buck. It's just slightly darker than Naked, so I started using that one a ton. Virgin was beautiful. This was just a, oh my god, I loved the, ooh, my elbow fell and love this palette. Honestly, it would be a palette that I would reconsider buying all over again, seriously. Naked 2 I also really loved, and I was so excited when they came out with. I believe it fell, so this one cracked down here. Again, a nice variety, not too different from the original Naked, so I feel like if you loved one more than the other, you could definitely get away with just getting one or the other. But it does, you know, have some original shadows that are really beautiful for this palette. I love these like bronze shades, some nice crease shades, some nice highlighting shades, some nice base shades. The Naked Smoky I was so excited to go out and get. I really tried to get it as soon as it came out. I love this palette. Its name is kind of a given, but I always reach for this palette if I'm trying to do like a smoky eye. They have some really nice grays, a nice purple. I love Password. It's just like a matte gray. Combust is a beautiful crease transition shade. 13's a beautiful either base or a nice highlight, and I believe High was also a highlight. And then the newest one, the Heat palette, I'm in love with, and I want to play with more, but it's just a nice variety of these like warm toned reds, and there's kind of like these pinky oranges in here. They are so flippin' pretty. Ember, I'm dying to try with some more. Again, some beautiful crease shades, some beautiful lid shades. I used He Devil not long ago. I loved Cayenne, but I'm honestly a huge fan of the Naked line, and that's why I have 4 of them. I've bought in all of these with my own money or gift cards that had given to me, so you know, these were personally handpicked by myself. I could have picked any palette on the market, and I love my Nakeds. Naked Heat I also do have the box for, which has the matches inside, which I thought was really cool, but just to show you the palette, I took it out for now. Next, I have the Huda Beauty, or I never know how to pronounce it, Huda Beauty Textured Shadow Palette, the Rose Gold Edition. This was the most expensive palette that I personally bought. I believe, let me get at it. I believe this one retailed for $65, and to be honest, I kind of wish I didn't buy it. Although the colors are really gorgeous, like I kind of like the more mattifying colors. I don't even know what happened to Maneater. Literally, I think I wet my brush and that's what happened. Kind of looks like a watermark. I love Shy, I love Bay, I love Flamingo. Like the matte colors are beautiful, and the reason that I bought this palette is for these like metallic shades, but they kind of dried out on me a little bit. Like they're not, like they don't really, I feel like maybe if I wet a brush or something, but I mean, I think they'd be great for like all over the lid, like high impact, wet your brush kind of look, but It's certainly not a palette that I reach for all the time. It'd be a palette that I would open and just try to create a look out of here just to use it and get my money's worth. So that's why I did not buy the Desert Huda palette, because I wasn't super, I love the packaging, I just wasn't super impressed with it. I'm not going in any particular order, so next I'm going to show you the My Little Pony, which was my most recent ColourPop purchase. I did a whole video on it. I will take it out of its packaging in case you missed it. I have shown it a couple times, but the palette itself is a little bit different than the sleeve. But I believe I got this palette for maybe $16, so the price is really affordable, but it has just a really nice variety of colors, and I really like these blues. I really liked this purple. It's just, again, another palette that I really need to dive more into to create more looks, but I just loved it because I'm a huge fan of My Little Pony, so it was more just because it was a collaboration with My Little Pony than the palette itself. But like I said, the eyeshadows are beautiful and certainly won't go to waste. Next, I'm going to pull out a couple of my Drugstore palettes. I believe, let me see. I think these are my two. There might be like one more Drugstore palette hidden away in my collection, but I have the nudes and I have the blushed nudes from Maybelline, and I'll be totally honest with you, I haven't reached for these palettes too much. So the nudes, of course, is just a really nice, affordable nude palette, so if you're looking to get something really neutral and affordable, I would recommend it. I don't think the pigmentation is incredible, but I do remember using them and being quite, you know, pleased with a Drugstore product. And then I do remember I got the blush nude set because, again, I'm missing the Naked 3, so I wanted to get something that was kind of similar, at least had the general idea of what the Naked 3 would look like. And I think I've dived into this a couple times, although I'm like eyeballing this green shade, which looks really gorgeous. But again, the pigmentation's okay. I feel like, again, you might have to maybe wet your brush to really, you know, get the impact you might be looking for. Next palette is not used very often just because of the colors, but I love this palette. So you can see it's been used, it's been loved, but this, oh my god, is just, oh my god. These are high impact neon colors. So of course I'm not gonna run to this palette every single day just to go to work or anything, but if I'm looking for a hot pink eyeshadow, or if I'm looking for cobalt blue or like a sky blue or like a deep purple, I'm going to run to this palette, and I know I'm gonna get a beautiful color payoff. Even this like neon electric orangey lime green, although I haven't used it very often, I'm so glad that it's in my collection. Too Faced Sexy palette. This is such a random palette, but at the time that I bought it, I fell in love with it. I remember swatching it in store and just really enjoying it. I bought it because it just, kind of like what the palette said, it reminded me of like sexy colors. So when I bought it, I was envisioning, I was like, oh my gosh, what if I did like a really smoky blue eye look, or even a purple eye look, or then they have like their nude eye look. I just figured this could come in handy. I've used it from time to time, that's for sure. I just, again, I need to sit down one day and just create like a really sexy purple smoky vampy eye. Same thing with the blues. It's just, it's an underrated palette. I think the pigments are really, really, really gorgeous though. Not huge into the packaging, like it's okay. I don't know, it's just, it's okay to me. Speaking of packaging, I despise this packaging just because I just think it looks ugly. It's hard to read when it says Sephora. It says Moonshadow Baked Palette, but you can barely read it against the background. It does have the colors on the back here, but the reason that I did buy it is because, again, they are baked eyeshadows. I was gonna say, I think one of these broke off, which that one did. The only other thing that I hate about this palette is that the eyeshadows, the eyeshadows are almost raised, which is kind of a cool concept, but to keep this palette clean is literally literally impossible. Like this will never get cleaned. Will never be cleaned. But baked eyeshadows, I love wetting my brush and using them to get that really nice high impact color. Baked eyeshadows are some of my favorite eyeshadows. Vice palette from Urban, what the heck? Oh, it's an elastic. Vice palette from Urban Decay. I believe this was the Vice maybe 4. I could be wrong. This was my very first Vice palette that I bought. I just honestly kind of loved the packaging. The colors are inside are really, really gorgeous. I do have a couple of favorites. I love the greens in this palette, and I really love this like almost olivey. It kind of reminds me of like a military green. I've used that a ton. I haven't really ventured out too much. That actually looks a lot like Millennial from my Stardust palette, but I need a chance to play with these eyeshadows some more. That one's speaking to me for some reason, but I don't know. A gorgeous palette, and it has a huge mirror as well. For some reason, I have 2 of these Cocoa Contour palettes. I have a feeling that maybe like a friend left it at my house and I didn't know where it came from. I still to this day didn't know where one of these palettes came from. One I personally bought myself. So this again is the Too Faced Cocoa Contour palette. It's like a powder palette. They have the light cocoa, what does that say? Pop of light highlights, medium cocoa, and then a dark cocoa. It did come with like a kabuki brush, but I really love these palettes. I don't use them as much anymore. Look, I have like all of my dark cocoa left. I usually use this to just buff into my the hollows of my cheek to create a contour shadow. I definitely just use bronzer in my Anastasia foundation stick now for contour, but I do keep them because they are great powders to have. Next was my first Morphe palette, and I must say this palette it got so dirty so easily. I'm not a huge fan of the packaging. It just seems very, very cheap. This was the one that I was confused about because it's 35W and I had ordered like a 32N or something, but the colors matched. So I still never figured out the mystery of that. But I have a love-hate relationship with this palette. It's very affordable and there is a really nice variety of neutrals and stuff. Like this immediately speaks to me when I open up the palette. Again, some really nice like smoky deep purples. Some of the eyeshadows work brilliantly. Like, I love these ones up here. This is a freaking gorgeous eyeshadow. I love using that on my lid. Some of the colors just show up so much better than the other ones, so I just have to play with it some more and figure out what works, what doesn't really work, which would work better wet, which works better dry, kind of thing. But for the price point, I wasn't too disappointed, and again, I love having the variety of eyeshadows in my palette. I wish it wasn't maybe as big, and I wish the packaging was a little bit different so it didn't get as dirty as easily. Alright, I had no idea what that was, but my Carly is actually like scraping off. But this was the Carly Bybel Deluxe Edition 21 color eyeshadow from BH Cosmetics. So again, really affordable. Unfortunately, by the time this video comes up, I don't know if this will still be available because it was a limited edition, although her original one was available for quite a long time. I am going to be so flippin' sad if I can't get my hands on another one of these palettes. This is like my favorite inner corner highlight ever. I love this shadow, this shadow, this shadow, this shadow, this shadow, this shadow. Like half of the eyeshadows I use all the time, and that's really, really, really rare in a palette, so I think it's amazing. So I still applaud Carly for this palette. It's one of my favorites. Next is from Anastasia again, but this is a glow kit, and this is actually the first glow kit that I've ever tried or bought from Anastasia, and I think I got it on eBay for really cheap, so I didn't pay full price for it, but I'm glad that I didn't pay full price because although the highlighters are amazing, it's not like I'm going to use these all the time. But I do remember, like in my My Little Pony, I use this purple horseshoe. The highlights have come in handy, although I don't ever see myself using a black or like a, what is this? It's called Blue Moon. It's kind of like a purpley blue. I use blue very, very lightly when describing that color, but Pink Heart I've used. I'll probably use it again for like Valentine's Day. Lucky Clover has like a tinge of green. Blue Ice is just a really nice icy shadow. So again, I love having this palette in my collection, and one day I'm like, oh my gosh, I need a purple highlight. Bam, I got a purple highlight, but I don't think I would have paid maybe full price for this one at least. I'd probably pay full price for one of the other ones that are more practical to wear every day, but I love having this in my collection. And I do love the packaging. It kind of shifts. You see, like the rainbow. Oh, Naked on the Run, you were something else. This is the one palette that I think I've ever regret buying, and I think this is the last time that I'm gonna see it. First of all, just look at it. It's been destroyed, it's been dropped. I don't think I have ever used this blush or this bronzer or this highlight. I mean, it's... I don't know what I was thinking when I bought this palette. I think it came with like a lip gloss. I might keep the eyeliner. Is this just like a black... Hello. Oh my god. Oh god, this is like a 24 glide on eyeliner, so I'll keep that. Oh my goodness, you see why I regret buying this palette? But yeah, I saw this in store and it intrigued me at the time. I have a feeling that my daughter got into this because of all these scratch marks. Oh, she's in trouble. It doesn't matter anyways. Like I said, I think it's time to throw this one in the trash. And I've never in my life have thrown away a palette that didn't shatter, or like I have never thrown away a palette just because I didn't like it. So get out of my face. Alright, we have 3 more palettes to get through. This one, again, is from Too Faced. Is their Sugar Pop palette. And because I like the Natural Eyes one, I wanted to try this. And again, I really love this palette. I love, 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 love this Blue Raspberry shade. Bubblegum I've used a couple of times. I've used Strawberry Ice as well, Macaroon, Sugared Violet as well, actually. So I've used quite a bit of colors. But this is a palette that you don't really, or I don't really see again until like the spring and summertime. But I'm telling you, this Blue Raspberry, I need to buy. Like, this palette can be smashed and empty, but as long as that Blue Raspberry color is in here, I'm keeping it. It's amazing. Next is another highlighting palette, and can you be surprised that I smashed this one as well at this point in the video? I dropped this palette and I smashed that highlight, and I was going to use like the alcohol and pressing technique, and I dropped it again before I could do that, and then it was just unsalvageable at that point. So I'm keeping this tiny little piece because I really liked it, but I do have this highlight down here, a bronzer, and a blush. So the palette is not completely useless, but also I saw kind of comparisons between this one, which is the Becca and Chrissy palette collaboration, compared with, I believe, Becca and Jaclyn's Hill palette. And although they're similar, I feel like they do have their differences, and it's not like I own the Jaclyn Hill one too, so I really do enjoy this one. And it was really pretty before I got my hands on it, and it does still have its plastic on. I'm just trying to... I don't know what I'm trying to do. And last but not least, and my newest palette, it doesn't even fit in the frame, was the only palette that was sent to me. I will not take credit for buying this palette because I didn't buy it. But I am freaking in love with this palette. This is the one palette that I actually like keep out and almost display. This is the Kat Von D Sinner and Saint palette. Oh my god, it opens up. Oh my god. So of course this is the palette that I've had the least playtime with, but oh my heaven, oh my sacred heart, oh my amen, hallelujah. This palette is gorgeous. So you do have, you know, your typical like black, you have, you know, amen would be like maybe a base color, maybe a very subtle highlight. Baptism is a little more white, where this is kind of like an ivory, this is more true to white. But then they have their like cobalt blue and their electric yellow and their lime green, and you know what I mean, like I have the electric palette, but it only has what I think 8 shadows, where this one has so much more. I did use Vestment in a look recently, but I can't wait to dive more into this palette. So again, this is my newest one and my least used so far. So that is it for palettes. My goodness. So that was officially the end of my makeup collection videos. I hope you guys enjoyed going through all of the palettes with me. I will have part 1 linked, so if you missed that out, just go ahead in that info box, or I'll probably have like a little shish kebab thing up here that you can also click on to see part 1. Thank you guys again so much for watching. Thank you for all your support, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye guys!